Hi, everyone. In math this week, we're going to begin topic 13. Topic 13 is all about measurement. Before we get into our math book, we're going to take some time today to talk a little bit about measurement. Before we can study the units of measurement, it's important to know that measurement not only is a part of math, but it is also a huge part of science. So in this unit, not only are we going to be studying math, but this ties into science as well. So, what are we going to learn? We are going to be learning the different instruments for measuring things. These are called scientific tools or also called scientific equipment. We are going to talk about ways to take measurements, and we're going to be focusing on units of measurement. So, our first goal for today, what we're going to hopefully be able to do is to identify tools used for scientific measurement. So, the tools that you are seeing on this screen are some of the tools that people use in both math and science for measuring. You can see some of these probably look very familiar. This one in particular, or even this one, may not look so familiar, but we're going to talk about all of these today. So, what exactly are these tools that you are seeing? Well, this first tool right here is obviously really obvious. You know this one and have used this one before. It is a ruler. Rulers are used to measure the length of things. Now, something to keep in mind, a ruler is good if you're measuring a shorter length. You might want to use something like a yardstick, which is a ruler, just much longer, to measure longer distances. So rulers are good for shorter distances. A yardstick or a meter stick is the same thing as a ruler, it's just longer. That's better for bigger distances. Another tool that you know very well is this tool right here. That is a thermometer. We use thermometers to measure temperature. There are all different kinds of thermometers that a mathematician or a scientist might use. The third tool that you're seeing right here is a stopwatch or a clock. Timers, stopwatches, and clocks are all used to measure time. Right here, what you are seeing are scientific tools for measuring volume. Volume is an amount of a liquid, okay? So these are considered beakers, okay? A beaker would be something that you would use to measure liquids. This tool right here is pretty cool. It's called a balance. It's also called a pan balance. Okay. A balance is a way to measure the mass of an object. Mass is how much matter something is in. So it's a little bit more complicated than just how heavy it is. But this is a scientific tool that people would use. Okay. It can be called a pan balance because if you look here, it looks like there's a little pan. You would put the object on the pan and then you would slide these little things up and down to see how much mass is in that object. Okay. The last thing that you're seeing here is what we call a spring scale. A spring scale, or any kind of scale, is used to measure weight. A scale is something you're familiar with. You step on them every time you go to the doctor's office for a checkup to see how much weight you've gained from year to year. A spring scale is a special kind of scale. You hang an object right here on this hook, and it pulls this whole piece down. And the heavier the object is, the further it pulls this little red measuring area down, and then that gives you a measurement of weight. So this is a little bit more of a scientific way of using a scale instead of the scale that you're normally used to. So let's see if you can figure out which tools would be the best ones to use. So a teacher creates a track of 50 meters. A student wants to measure the time it takes to run that distance. What instrument should the student use? A ruler, B, a telescope, C, a thermometer, D, a stopwatch. Well, notice we are talking distance. So if you said a ruler, you are correct. Let's look at another question. Okay. A student places a wooden spoon and a stainless steel spoon into a container of boiling water. She waits 5 minutes, then measures the temperature of the handle on each spoon. Which instrument did she use to measure? So notice we're measuring temperature. So are we going to use a telescope, a thermometer, a ruler, or a balance? If you said B, thermometer, you are correct. Okay, so next thing that we're going to be focusing on, and this is what we're going to be doing using our math book, we're going to be identifying and applying units of measurement. What in the world does that mean? Well, in math and in science, scientists make all sorts of observations. They use special instruments to take different measurements. They can measure the distance, the weight, the volume, the temperature. Scientists use metric units, but here in the United States, we use what we call standard units. Okay, so just quick reviewing, we can measure length, temperature, mass or weight, volume, and time. What we're going to be studying in topic 13 is the standard ways that we can measure these things. Okay, standard form is what we use in the United States, and then the metric units of measurement. Metric units of measurement are used in all of science and other countries throughout the world. So, for today, what I want you to focus on is just the tools for measurement. So, in your Google Classroom assignment, there is a link to a website that's called Tools for Measurement. Okay, on this website, there's 3 things that we want you to check out. First, there's a slideshow. The slideshow will run through the slides all by itself. It just goes very slow, so that way you have plenty of time to look at the picture and read the information that's on the bottom. When you finish watching the slideshow, check out the karaoke song. It's kind of silly and funny. We thought you would get a kick out of it. And then there's a test yourself area where you can see if you can correctly answer questions related to tools for measurement. Once you've completed all that work, please make sure you complete the Google Form quiz. This is a way that we're going to be checking in to see how well you're understanding these skills before we move on to the first lesson in topic 13.